This is a Film Stories original podcast.
Mother's Day is almost here, and you can get her the most beautiful time-tested gift around. A watch she can wear every day from Movement. Whether your mom is into classic dress watches, rare and refined ceramics, or tried-and-true bestsellers, Movement has something she'll love. And right now, everything at Movement is up to 50% off site-wide during their Mother's Day sale. A watch is a gift that celebrates all the time you spent with Mom. And a Movement watch is even more than that. Movement uses industry-leading materials for their fresh, modern watch designs, from technically complex ceramics to vintage-inspired style, all for an incredible value your wrist and wallet will both love. And with one-size-fits-all convenience and fast free shipping and returns, it's a stress-free shopping experience. Save big on the best Mother's Day gift ever with Movement. Get up to 50% off site-wide during their Mother's Day sale at mvmt.com. Again, that's up to 50% off at mvmt.com.
Oui, Mathis.
Hello and welcome to the X-Cast. The truth is in here. You're listening to the coverage of Minute 37 of the X-Files Fight the Future Minute. I'm Sarah Blair and I'm joined by Caredwen Foley. Hello, Caredwen. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm great. This minute begins at 36 minutes when Mulder and Scully arrive at the Bethesda Naval Hospital, also known as Walter Reed Hospital, and ends at 36:59 when they head down to the morgue. Are you ready to dig in, Caredwen?
I am excited to dig in.
Excellent. We've got Mulder and Scully walking into the hospital, and it's 4:04 a.m., and they get into a little bit of a, I don't know, I wouldn't call it a tussle, but
they encounter some resistance.
Yes, with the overly excited, he's doing his job. He's trying to do his job,
young man who's conveying to our fair heroes that the area of the hospital that they would like to enter is off limit to anyone except authorized medical personnel, which sure sounds pretty shady to our heroes.
Exactly. And I looked up the actor's name on IMDb, Joel Trawick. I think he does an excellent job. I don't know how I would have felt as an actor trying to do a scene with just David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson, a young actor in that situation. I wonder if he even knew much about the X-Files or if he was just doing another job.
I feel like this would have been easier if you didn't, especially given that the tone of the scene is basically this guy getting a talking to.
Yes. Yeah, I think if I were in that situation as an actor, I think I probably would have been somewhat intimidated to be on set that day. Yeah,
for sure. I think this is maybe my favorite instance in the series of Mulder and Scully bluffing their way into some place they're not supposed to be in. I really appreciate the nerve of this play. Instead of, they're not just sneaking into a place with a key card or going in with a false ID or something like that. They're just walking in bold as brass, we're supposed to be here. If you don't think we're supposed to be here, you better go call your boss and find out.
On second thought, don't call your boss. We're going to go do what we need to do.
Call your boss's boss's boss. We're going to be on our way.
I think it was pretty smooth of Mulder. I think he did a great job bluffing into that situation.
I really like that Scully does not speak at all in this scene because she's such a terrible liar.
Yeah.
There are a couple interesting little reaction shots between her and the guard where she, like, looks pretty shady during a lot of this scene, and you can tell she's just like, please let this be over, please let this be over. And Mulder's, like, cool as a cucumber. But there are a couple points where I'm like, is her entire face going to give the game away here?
I know. She's just letting Mulder do the talking this time.
Yeah. It doesn't count as a lie if I don't actually say it.
Exactly. Yes. So I have, I brought out my roughed up copy of the X-Files Fight the Future novelization.
Oh my.
I know. It's like so old and just very loved. It matches really well to this. And it's interesting to see, the reactions and the way they, Mulder registers outraged disbelief. You don't know the switchboard number. And just some of the descriptions are really good.
That's so funny. I've been taking a look throughout some of this at one of the production scripts that's online. And it's interesting to notice, like, the minor differences between the teleplay as written and what we see on screen. This part is pretty consistent. There weren't really any changes to this particular minute as far as I can tell. But
yes,
yeah, it's interesting seeing, like, how the sausage got made and then how the sausage got, like, communicated as some other kind of sausage in the novelization.
Exactly. Yeah. In the novel, the one thing that I noticed for this particular minute was that it says they were there at 3:30 in the morning, but I wrote down on the screen the timestamp says 4:04 a.m., which is actually, we're going to talk about in our last minute 39, because there's an interesting difference in there. So I think it would have been better for Mulder. It would have given him a little bit more time, I think, if he had arrived at 3:30 instead of 4, because he's got to hightail it back to DuPont Circle. What
is the language in the scene at Scully's apartment when he goes and wakes her up? Because he says in the film it's 3 a.m. then, and I guess they thought, okay, and this seems a little bit hasty to be able to get them changed and get to the Bethesda.
Yeah, it just says that they it starts at chapter 6 starts with them at the hospital. So I guess it would have been, let's see, when he goes to wake her up, he just says, "Get dressed, Scully." And she says, "Mulder, what are you doing?" And he says, "Just get dressed." The manic gleam in his eyes grew more intense, but it couldn't hide the beginning of a grin. The slightest hint of something big was afoot. I'll explain on the way. Yeah,
I think that how Dubois actually plays that in the scene is a little bit. I like his, like, more, plaintive, understated approach to that instead of the manic glee.
Yes. I have a feeling, knowing how publishing works, I think that they probably used an earlier version of the script for the book to adapt to the book.
They guessed how the acting would go.
Yeah. There's a couple of little bitty differences. And I think in order to get the book published and out on time to match with the film, they would have not seen the final version.
It's funny to imagine how the actors might respond to seeing that. Like, I could imagine one of them reading through the novel and being like, "That's not how I would have played that.
That's not right."
No.
Yeah.
That's not Mulder at all.
Yeah, on this it says, next to Mulder, Scully stood and gazed distractedly into space. The guard bit his lip and nervously checked his watch, then picked up the phone and began flipping through a huge directory.
Why on earth is she supposed to be staring distractedly into space?
I don't imagine that Gillian Anderson would ever gaze distractedly into space. I don't feel that.
Yeah, I mean, except maybe for, like, in some of the, the comedy episodes where somebody else is recounting something she's doing, like, in an unreliable narrator kind of way. But yeah, and, like, it's as if they saw that in the script there wasn't any dialogue for her, and they were like, well, guess she's just not doing anything. Guess she's not reacting to this conversation.
They may as well have just been like, Scully stood by and twiddled her thumbs while she whistled. I mean, it would have been about the same effect, probably.
Goodness.
Yeah. But I do appreciate that it's probably got to be really tough to adapt from a script and not see the final version.
Yeah.
Considering what it is, it's pretty close to what's on screen.
Yeah, I don't envy that job because you have to take you have to take the flour from a cake recipe and make an entire cake, and you don't know what any of the other ingredients are. They're not getting to see the direction or the acting or anything like that.
Yeah, so I'm sure it was a tough job. So, it was adapted by Elizabeth Hand. She did a good job on this. But yeah, I mean, it's fun to see the comparisons, and we've got a couple of other small differences, very nitpicky differences in our upcoming minutes that we can talk about too. But yeah, there's a lot going on in this scene. It's one of the more humorous scenes in the film.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good one. I like this scene.
I think the guard's comic timing when he or the actors who's playing the guard's comic timing when he says, "Why don't you go on down?" Like it's just a wonderful. I think that's part of what makes it so funny, because up until then there's this kind of tension, and then you get the relief of tension when it's clear that, they're going to be okay for the moment, even though there's still some suspense. But just the beat that he takes before agreeing is so good.
Yeah, it's brilliant. He did a great job. So hats off to him. And, Mulder and Scully, like always, A+.
On point.
Mm-hmm. 100, 10 out of 10. So, yeah. Do you have anything else to add?
I don't think I have anything else for this minute. Yeah, I mean, this is a fantastic scene. I just it cracks me up every time I see it.
It does.
But I'm excited I'm excited to chat in the next minute about what happens next.
We don't want to spoil anything.
No, God forbid, no spoilers.
Absolutely not. All right. Caredwen, thank you so much for joining us. We are taking over from Carl, Agent Sweeney, right? So, we appreciate you sticking around, and you'll be with us in the next minute, and we will see you then. And until next time, remember, trust no one.
Previously on the We Made This Network. By Projection Light.
Dickinson also brings the audience's attention to a then unknown Audrey, who shines like a bright, pure beacon the whole film. It's quite amazing to think that only a year after this film, she would be cast in the film that would catapult her to superstardom and garner her an Oscar win. But it's also not difficult to believe. Her performance is so unaffected, as if she's living the part of Nora, which, as I've said, she almost had already. And it's also wonderful to see her dance, particularly during the audition scene towards the start of the film, where she flits and spins like an angel. It made me think of how she had danced during the war for audiences who were not allowed to clap due to the prohibition of public gatherings, but how she brought joy to those people as she brings joy to everyone who's watching this film every time she dances.
Don't say the C word.
Sex, drugs and rock and roll isn't a cliche. I've seen it all. There's a unique group of groupies that feel the need to collect, if that's the right term to use, like all of the band members, as in to sleep with all the band members and all of the crew.
Oh, wow. So they kind of, do they work their way from the top down, or do they work their way from the bottom up?
Yeah, get to whoever they can first. And it would always be me and one of the band members they'd never get. And I was quite proud of that. I was like, yeah, I'm the one that you don't know about. So like, you can never brag. I'm not a bragging right.
That's pretty admirable. And is there a particular reason why you're not going to shag the groupies?
At the time, I was a virgin and I didn't want my first time to be with just some random lady on the road.
Bloody hell, that really is admirable. I think I'd have thrown my virginity at anybody, to be honest with you.
It got to the point a few years on, I was like, I'm thinking about it now. But no.
The time is now, a Millennium podcast.
The way that he's offered that job, I think he's done that before. It's not out of character for him to go into situations like that. I know he's done with a bit more levity earlier on the season in Goodbye Charlie, where he goes to speak to the the social worker, and he lays off all of his problems, which is a great scene in that episode.
Yeah, it's very hard to have that sort of levity when you're dealing with literal Nazis, to be fair.
Well, yeah, it's a slightly different take on the same kind of.
Yeah, I'm wondering whether the Mel Brooks sequence of that would probably be something to behold.
Check out all of these shows and more on the We Made This podcast network.
Did you know that most vitamin D3 supplements come from sheep's wool? Ew, seriously. They squeeze the grease out of the wool and process it with chemicals, and then you eat it. I'm Kat, mother of 3 and founder of Ritual, the company making traceability the new standard in the supplement industry. When I was pregnant, I got rid of products I didn't want anywhere near my body. I found that many multivitamins contain high amounts of heavy metals, synthetic colorants, and even lacked some of the nutrients we actually needed. So what did I do? At 4 months pregnant, I quit my job and started Ritual because all women deserve to know what they're putting in their bodies and why. Ritual's products are made traceable, meaning we share the science and sourcing for every single ingredient. For example, our vegan vitamin D3 comes from sustainably harvested lichen in Nottingham, England, not sheep. We trace like a mother because, let's be honest, no one cares quite like a mother. See for yourself with 25% off at ritual.com/podcast.